Oh, hi, this is Quintus Jett from Abundance for America. It's the day of the New Hampshire primaries, and I think polls are open for another few hours. And it occurred to me to maybe to share with you something that will be useful for I think what to expect in the days ahead. So whether you're looking at this, before the results come in, or just after the New Hampshire results come in, or it's a few days later, I think this will still be useful for you to know. This is a term that I first encountered within participating within Yang Gang, but I think it precedes that. The term is action happens at the speed of trust. So what does that mean? Action happens at the speed of trust. When I was leading volunteers in New Orleans, we were dealing sometimes in the very much the day to day, sometimes hour to hour, minute to minute, of doing basically canvassing in neighborhoods, and sometimes there'd be all sorts of uncertainty about how we would do it. Sometimes there'd be issues of weather, or there'd be computers were down, or we needed a printer, but yet there'd be these moments as a team where we'd all just come together very quickly, having to make sense of the situation, of what can we do, and then we'd be acting quickly. And it's amazing how quickly human beings can do that. Action happens at the speed of trust. Within the context of the Yang campaign, the way this might play out is sometimes, let's say, if I'm coordinating something with, let's say, a member of the Abundance team, like for example, Jeff Miller. Let's say we were trying to construct and get out the first Iowa treasure map in early November. There was a lot that we had to do in terms of finalizing them and how they're looking, and what to call the codes, how we classified counties, where we're going to print them out and how we're going to distribute them. There was a lot that had to happen, and it was amazing how quickly Jeff and I were able to work together and just get it done, and get it done well. And part of it is trust. So Jeff and I, even though I don't think we've ever been in the same physical location, but Jeff and I, we talk, we see each other for Zoom, and there's a sense of communication and trust and knowledge of each other. And so we relied on that in order to get something done, even though, at the time, it was actually pretty stressful. It was like, okay, we're going to distribute these Iowa treasure maps in Yangapalooza, and it's going to be November 1st, and it's 2 days from now, but they're not finished yet. How will we do it? But the trust between us, and then actually the trust of other people in helping to distribute it, came into play. Action happens at the speed of trust. When you're in a community and people trust each other, especially like as we do within Yang Gang, when that happens, together we're able to come up with things more quickly and more sharply than even we think when we're getting started. Action happens at the speed of trust. The same thing happens. It's to the point now that presidential campaigns are very demanding things, very fast-paced, short time frame, competitive. With all that's happening with it, it's not actually all that unusual for me to have these moments within the Yang campaign. So for example, today's the New Hampshire primaries. I think on any given day during this campaign, I will be introduced to somebody. I may be learn of them, or I might reach out to someone new, or they approach me. There's someone who 24 hours before I had never heard of them, never seen their name, have no idea who they are, and all of a sudden they're the right person to work with to get something done. Either I need them, or I'm useful, or they need me. And then all of a sudden, without even knowing this person before, but they're part of Yang Gang, I'm in contact with them, we're in contact with each other, we're figuring it out, and we're understanding our sense of hope and direction. It just comes out of nowhere, and we're just doing it. Much more than we ever could have imagined. action happens at the speed of trust. And so I think I'd be remiss if I didn't let everyone know that we are in this moment of this kind of moment for the campaign and movement of Yang as a whole. That basically we have a situation here where we have the New Hampshire primaries. There's a lot going on competitively. We need, we're looking and hopeful to have like better performance. So basically, Yang was in single digits in Iowa, and we definitely want to be above single digits and actually showing some signs of momentum today, this evening. And there's a lot of competition at work too. So Amy Klobuchar is increasing her she has a wave going, and we're actually starting to see Bloomberg starting to improve. So in other words, there's a very high probability. So I'm not really into predicting things. So I'm not going to tell you what I think is going to happen, tonight. I have no idea. But I can see trends and things like that. And so what I see happening is there's a very high probability that the results tonight, whatever they are going to be highly emotional for us, for those who support Andrew Yang. And we are going to have to look and rely to each other to make sense of what's happening and to begin figuring out what it is that we're going to do, and to do it quickly, even though in the very beginning, as we hear the results, we will have no idea initially what we're going to do next. That's what's going to happen. We're going to be in an action happens at the speed of trust moment. To give you an example of that, I'm going to paint two pictures for you. Kind of an optimistic picture and a pessimistic picture. So I'm going to do the optimistic picture first. Let's say Andrew Yang does better than let's say the polling was indicating, like going into Tuesday. So all of a sudden Andrew Yang is like top 3 in New Hampshire or something like that, and it's unexpected, right? So if that happens, what I'm expecting to see is, well, one, we're all going to be happy. We're all going to be really excited. What we're going to see is lots of new people coming in and towards like the Yang gang and the Yang movement. And we're going to see some members of the Yang gang who've been working hard and were kind of burned out and on the sidelines. They're going to step up and they're going to come in. And so with all that excitement, there's going to be some fear, because all of a sudden we're all going to realize that, yeah, there's some great progress, but there's going to be something like 30 plus primary contests within the next 40 days, including the big states like California, Texas, and all this other stuff. And there'll be a sense of, oh no, we're not ready. What are we going to do? So that's likely to happen. And especially when you consider that even for these the Super Tuesday states, some of the voting is already happening, right? So people in let's say California and let's say Texas, probably Texas, Minnesota, there's already early voting happening. So when this happens, if there's the optimistic scenario happens and we're all jubilant, we're all getting together, and we're looking at what we're facing, we have to be in all these different states, over 30 states within the next 40 days, and we have organizations like Bernie Sanders is very organized, and then there's Bloomberg. We're going to have to figure this out. So when that happens, I'm just sort of encouraging you all to remember, action happens at the speed of trust. There's going to be all sorts of communication, not just from the campaign headquarters, but amongst ourselves to figure out what's happening and what we are going to do next. All right, so that's the optimistic scenario. All right, so the pessimistic scenario. So let's say that Andrew Yang gets pretty much what he had, let's say in Iowa. So single digits, it's disappointing. Ranking still 6, or maybe even if you want to be really pessimistic, like Tom Sire or Gabbard have surpassed us or something like that. If that were to happen, in certain ways it's the same thing. We are going to be very emotional, but it'll be negative, and we're going to be faced with figuring out, where do we go from here? And so not just Andrew himself about where to go, but we as Yanking, what are we going to do? In the sense that we joined this campaign for a reason, because we know that this country really needs to change, and a lot of the changes that are needed for our survival as a country is more than just about Trump and what he's doing. That there's a lot in terms of automation, and there are a lot of great problems in our society that need to be addressed. And Andrew Yang is the one who has brought it over to us, and and it's provided this community. Not only were different people of different parts of the political spectrum are together, but even, on the ground, at least based on the surveys, we're actually a pretty diverse group too, like racially diverse and stuff, things like that. So in other words, we are very committed as a community to this change. We're committed to this kind of problem solving, like that Andrew Yang is marshaling. We as a community are committed to things like UBI, to end poverty, to basically do, as a community, being able to be a catalyst for what this economy and society needs to be in the 21st century. More humanity first, looking at each other in America, not just as expenses, but as investments that we can make in each other, and to be a loving community. All of that is wrapped up in who we are as a community. And we're further along a healing community within the Yang Gang. So if things do not go as we expect, and if it's like, if we experience this as downright just bad, we are going to have to do the same kind of thing. Action happens at the speed of trust. We're going to be looking to each other and not simply waiting on what HQ tells us to do. We are going to be reaching out to each other formally and informally throughout Yang Gang, like people we know and sometimes people we don't know, to make sense of what's happening. And what is it that we're going to have to be, what we're going to do? There's so much about this campaign that, we always focus on Andrew. We talk about Yang, there's all sorts of for Yang, different states for Yang. But this has always been about something more than him. Even the reason that Andrew is doing it, it's more than just about him. In that sense, I'm very glad that this organization is called Abundance for America. It's bigger than just one person. So if it doesn't go as we would hope it goes, like if it doesn't go well tonight, we are going to have to convene with each other. It's going to be very quick. And we're going to have to begin the process of becoming more explicitly mission-driven in what we do as a community, and not simply about the idolatry of Yang. That's where this is headed. Action happens at the speed of trust. So what I'd like you to do is, so whether you're watching this in a time before the results, after results, and the days that follow, I want you to, to reflect and share this video to other people who really need to see it.